Pederson introduced as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think a lot of that stuff that he said sounds a lot like what Urban Meyer said a year ago. I don't know. It's a lot of the same stuff. We're going to bring a winner to Jacksonville. So you've had to deal with a lot of crap. Sorry about all the crap you've had to deal with. And, hey, at least Doug Pederson is suited to coach in the NFL,
exactly.
Unlike Urban Meyer.
That's where it's different.
That's another – let's just start there.
Yeah.
Because you saw Shad Khan, the owner of the team, sitting to the right of Doug Pederson. How in the hell did Shad Khan think a year ago he was doing the right thing hiring Urban Meyer? And, you know, the reality is he never stopped and thought, is Urban Meyer suited to coach in the NFL?
Right.
All he thought is, that's the guy I want.
Yeah.
I get what I want. I wanted a super yacht, I got it. I want Urban Meyer, I'm getting Urban Meyer. And he never bothered to take a step back and ask himself, is this guy suited to be a successful NFL head coach? And look what he got.
Yeah, it was
his own fault.
Yeah, it was a disaster. It is their fault, no doubt. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you I was anti-Urban Meyer being hired. You know, again, I think what I looked at with Urban Meyer is I thought there was a little more work ethic there and an understanding of the broader approach of the game. I think that's what it got me, especially when I knew, you know, the history of, you know, some of his friends throughout the NFL, Bill Belichick, Jimmy Johnson, some of those guys where, you know, I just felt like they respect him because they understand what he does with his football team in college, and he understands that. But at some point, life got to be, it became just a rolling train for Urban Meyer at Ohio State, where he didn't have to coach and grind anymore. And then he just wanted to continue that in the NFL. And that's where it all went wrong. And yes, he didn't fit. He didn't understand the culture of the NFL. And like we've talked about, it's a job that you got to be into the X's and O's and be creative and thinking about outside the box things. And he wasn't willing to do that.
It was either extreme stupidity.
Yeah.
When he came to the NFL, or extreme arrogance. And I know he tried to sell recently in a podcast appearance with Dan Dockich that he just didn't understand. Well, first of all, how do you not understand? And Peter King and I talked about this on Friday, and Peter's position is, that's bullcrap. He knew. He just thought, and this isn't exactly what Peter said, but he thought...
What did he say?
He said Vikings suck.
They do, you're right, the Vikings suck. They suck.
Hey.
You know, hey. I wish you would have got Jim Harbaugh.
All right. Yes. All right.
I like those guys.
I think they're friends of yours.
No, they're
if
not.
You have friends. But what was my point? Oh,
sorry.
That he just thought he could show up and say, I'm Urban Meyer, and I'm going to just by sheer force of my will and personality, I'm going to bend the NFL in my direction.
Right.
That my way is going to work, even though my way is banker's hours, right?
Leave at 6:30 at night,
and kick the kicker allegedly,
yeah, right?
But it was a disaster. But the point is, Shad Khan got so caught up in the idea that he had to have Urban Meyer at a time when nobody else wanted Urban Meyer. The other 31 teams, or at least the ones who were looking for coaches, were not even thinking about Urban Meyer. So Shad Khan got it wrong. So did he get it right with Doug Pederson? I mean, the guy won a Super Bowl, but then he got fired a year ago.
Right. I do think he got it right. Listen, I think the one thing I look at to where the positives are, right, I think it's a little bit of a safe pick with Doug Pederson. You know, again, I know there's the Byron Leftwiches and some other guys out there that might not have the experience or whatever else, but maybe you look at it and go, whoa, they have bigger potential. But this is an organization that's on the heels of what we just talked about. Total dysfunction and stupidness with Urban Meyer. So Doug Pederson, where I love it is, he's going to get them back on the right track and functioning like a normal organization and have a real relationship with the GM and have a vision as far as what they want to do that way. What else do I like about it? Well, Doug Pederson did play quarterback in the NFL. He understands what it takes there. He did help Carson Wentz early on in his career. Carson Wentz, let's not forget, year 2 was really the NFL MVP. He got hurt for the last 3 games, and the NFL took it away from him. But he should have been the MVP of the NFL that year. So he does understand how to develop a young quarterback and win football games in the NFL. And to me, that's where he's a good, you know, been there, done that, settle things down, get us going in the right direction once again. And the last thing, Mike, too, he runs an offense that I think really fits Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, you heard me during last year's stuff, it was a real college-y offense coming from Clemson. It wasn't underneath the center and check with me and all that kind of stuff. It was not. It's more to what we've seen Doug Pederson do with Carson Wentz and even, Jalen Hurts a little last year. Shotgun, read options, screen here, take a shot down the field, run the quarterback a little bit. I think that really fits Trevor Lawrence, so that's where I do like it.
I'd love to know what Trevor Lawrence thinks about everything that's gone on the last few weeks.
Right.
Did he want Byron Leftwich? Did he chime in? Remember, he said early on he wanted to have input in who the head coach was going to be. I think something borderline Shakespearean was happening behind the scenes with Shad Khan, I believe, and we don't know this. This is all circumstantial evidence pieced together, but I think Byron Leftwich made his power play. He said, I want Adrian Wilson to come with me as the GM, and I think Shad Khan went to Trent Baalke and said, you got to bring me something better. You got to bring me something. You get your best candidate, and I'll decide whether I'll keep you and your guy or I'll go to Leftwich and Adrian Wilson, because there was never any pushback from the team about any of the reporting. Mike Jurecki, who's covered the Cardinals for years, came out and said, I'm hearing it's going to be Adrian Wilson and Byron Leftwich in Jacksonville. And maybe at that moment it was accurate, but then it fell back into this weird balancing act, and eventually after a week or so, they settled on Doug Pederson. And I think that it was as simple as Shad Khan having to struggle between, do I want Leftwich and Wilson or Baalke and whoever he shows up with, and he shows up with Pederson, and that's the way he goes. And it all happens days after the Brian Flores lawsuit. Is this some of the...
You could sell that to your owner. He's been with the young quarterback.
Right.
He knows how to do that.
But I'd love to know what Trevor Lawrence thinks of this and whether or not he wanted Byron Leftwich. Did he talk to Tom Brady about Byron Leftwich? Did he talk to Carson Wentz about Doug Pederson?
Right.
Did he talk to Nick Foles about Doug Pederson? If I'm Trevor Lawrence, I want to know what the people who have experienced in working with these candidates, and I don't know, do we get the guy that Trevor Lawrence wanted or not? He's probably never going to say it to anyone publicly or privately. There may be some people privately who know, but we'll probably never find out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.